Hello Year 11, it's Miss Saul again. I'm here with the second of our videos for today. This is still continuing to look at our waggle speech and focusing on how to effectively structure a persuasive argument. Our waggle answers this particular question, if you remember, which is young people should focus on education. School students should not be allowed to have jobs. Write a speech to your school's governors in response to this statement. You remember, the waggle picks a side. In this case, it's arguing against the statement. It's saying that we should allow school students to have part-time jobs, and it points out all of the beneficial reasons for this. This video is going to focus on the pathos section, the third section of the waggle, and the conclusion section, the fourth and final section. Can I ask you again, if you're able to have printed out the waggle in front of you, to copy notes so that you understand the different elements of these sections and what makes them successful. As I've said before, please, by all means, feel free to pause me, rewind the video if you need to get the notes down that you need so that you have a really good understanding of this structure. So as I said, pathos and then conclusion. So the pathos section of a persuasive argument paints a picture of the future. So you're going to, in this section, explain why it will be bad in the future if we don't do what you're suggesting. So if we ban jobs, for instance, for students, why would that be bad? Okay. And then in the second part of this section, you might choose to then go on to say, but what are the benefits? What would be good about doing what you are suggesting? So you're painting two alternative futures, if you like. One, which is not great when people aren't taking your advice. Why would that not be an ideal situation? And then what will be different if we do agree with you and we do what you're suggesting? There's techniques, as I've said before, that often work well here are emotive language. We're trying to sort of emotionally manipulate people into feeling that actually that bad future isn't one that they want, and they feel sorry for people that would be in that situation. And the good future, if we agree with you, is definitely something that we would want to bring about. And obviously hyperbole is going to lend itself to that because you're going to exaggerate the good future slightly and potentially exaggerate the bad future slightly as well. Okay, so that's pathos. So the pathos section in our waggle reads, and so what would happen if we didn't give our Year 11 students the chance to have a paid job? Well, in light of what I have said, the implications for the future are clear. We would have stressed, nervous students without the social skills that they could have learnt by taking a job. We would have students who feel humiliated because they have no money to go out at the weekends, causing tension and arguments with their parents. Imagine the exam results that students in this position might get. I'm sure you don't want to, they wouldn't be great. And so the only conclusion I can reach is that we should not implement a ban on paid work in Year 11. Although it can give students another thing to fit into their busy lives, surely we want our children to grow up able to organise themselves just like they will have to when they become adults too. Okay, so what makes pathos? Well, we've painted a picture of the future. Why will it be bad if we don't do what is being suggested, that we allow Year 11s to have jobs? Well, so it's going to be bad if we ban jobs because we would have stressed, nervous students without the social skills they could have learned by taking on a job. We would have students who feel humiliated because they have no money to go out the weekends, causing tension and arguments with their parents. So this is what will happen if we ban jobs, okay? And then right towards the end, we've then made a comment as to, well, why would it be good if we did have jobs? So we've painted a picture of the future that's more positive. So we would have children who grow up able to organise themselves, which would get them ready for adulthood, okay? So you're not only criticising the future if nothing changes, if what you're suggesting doesn't come about, but you're also promoting, I guess, the future that would come about if we all agreed with you and did what you're suggesting. Okay, so we're making it sound desirable to agree with you. So that's the key to pathos. Pathos is all about the emotions. If you think about like sympathy, empathy, the pathos bit is the feelings, the emotions. So we're appealing to people's better sense. We feel bad for these future stressed, nervous students. We don't want that. What we do want is children that are able to cope and organise themselves and be better adults, okay? So we're appealing to our emotional side, if that makes sense, in pathos. There's techniques used for effect in here. Well, we've got some emotive language, as I said, and some hyperbole. In particular, we use that to make the future sound bad if we didn't let them have jobs. So we're using words here like stressed, nervous, humiliated. We feel sorry for people if they felt like that. So it's deliberately designed to make the reader or listener feel sorry for them and feel motivated to agree with what you're asking in order to prevent this. You're asking, let them have jobs, then they won't feel stressed, nervous, and humiliated. So we're motivated then, because we don't want students feeling that way, to agree with you. So that's emotive language and hyperbole. Very, very common to find that. You'd always be using some of that in your pathos section. We also have in here an imperative. Now, if you remember, an imperative is sort of like a command or an instruction. And so our imperative in this one is, imagine the exam results that students in this position might get. It's subtly insisting. So you are telling your reader or listener, in this case, to imagine. You're not asking them to picture the negative effects that might happen if they don't agree with you. And the trick here is not to sound too aggressive. So imagine this is one way of saying it. The other one is we must is another way of using an imperative where we collectively sound like we're going to do it rather than we're ordering other people to do it. And again, it's just this idea of making it feel a little bit more insistent, that we can't ignore this. And we've got some rhetorical questions in here too. One at the start, one at the end. So it's quite bookended. That's quite a nice, subtle way of being quite persuasive as well. This is kind of like for your higher grades. So we started with what would happen if we didn't give our year 11 students a chance to have a paid job. And then basically the rest of that paragraph, or most of it, answers that question. Well, this is what would happen. Okay, so we're not giving them the choice to make that their own minds up about that. And then at the end, we sort of ask this question, surely we want our children to grow up to be organized. And so again, it's getting them to think about the positives what you're arguing for will give everyone, and making it sound really obvious that that's something we'd all want. Surely we would want our children to do this. Again, it sounds like if you disagreed with this, you'd be in the minority, you'd be wrong. Surely we all want this. So again, it's that subtle way of phrasing a question that isn't too aggressive, but that does sort of suggest your way of thinking, or certainly your next sentence will give the answer that you want to the question, so that you don't really give them the option of thinking anything else. So those are rhetorical questions in Pathos 2. And then finally, we've got our mature viewpoint phrases in here. And in particular, one that lends itself really well to pathos is the implications for the future are clear. If we're painting a picture of the future, both bad and good, depending on what they decide to do, then that phrase indicates very early on, I'm going to now tell you what will happen in the future if you don't agree with me and what if you do agree with me. Okay, so again, it's enabling, it's signposting what it is that you're going to do in each section of your persuasive argument, so that the reader or the listener can follow along and fully understand what it is you're doing in each section. Okay, so the conclusion section then, so that was the pathos. The conclusion section is the last part of your persuasive argument, and it's relatively short in comparison to the others. It's basically just wrapping your argument up rather than ending it very abruptly. It's summarizing, what do you want to change, or what do you want to make happen at this point? And what must we do? So leaving us with an action of some kind in order for this to happen. So, okay, assuming that you have persuaded us by the end, what is it that you want me to go and do now? And there's techniques that often work well here, but are not limited to, are rhetorical question and imperative. Imperative is really useful for that. What must we do soon, urgently, in order for this to happen? So the conclusion in our waggle reads like this. I know you have come to this hall tonight to benefit students like me. I hope that I have convinced you that paid work can be essential for gaining social skills, earning money and independence, and supporting self-esteem. Please do not stop us from working. We must allow young people the chance to develop their skills both inside and outside of school. So it is really just a summary. Here's what I've hopefully convinced you of. Here's what I'm hoping you're going to do now. Here's what we all have to do together. Okay. So state what you want to change or make or see happen and why. So in this case, I want to see students gaining social skills, earning money and independence, and supporting their self-esteem. Okay, that's what I want to see. So therefore, I don't want you to stop us from working. I'm stating what it is I want you to not do in this case. Okay, and then state what we must do, in order for this to happen. We must allow young people the chance to develop their skills both inside and outside of school by allowing them to have part-time jobs. Okay. There's techniques used for effect in the conclusion, as I said. Really useful one is an imperative used to make what you want sound urgent and make it clear what it is your reader or listener needs to do now and why. You've persuaded us, but what is it you want me to do? Well, let me show you. It's this. Okay. As I said before, top tip with using an imperative is to use the collective pronoun we, because it makes it sound like we'll all be working together on this rather than asking others to do everything without you, like you're expecting everyone else to do the hard work. If you use the word we, we're all in it together. We're all going to do the hard work to make it a better future and make it a better place. Okay, so those are their techniques that I've used there. There is a note here because there is no mature viewpoint phrase in this, but that's my email, sorry guys, but there is one that could have been used to start your conclusion to indicate that you're about to conclude. And that is, considering all of the above, only one conclusion can be drawn. And then you basically say what that is. We must allow year 11s to have part-time jobs if they so wish. Okay, so again, if you started your conclusion with considering all of the above, only one conclusion can be drawn, state what that is. Straight away, again, your reader or your listener is going to know, okay, well, they're wrapping up their argument now. They're making it really, really clear. What is it that we're all supposed to agree to now? Okay, so you might want to make a note of that mature viewpoint phrase at the end of your waggle, of one that you could use to start your conclusion when you do a piece of writing, even though this waggle didn't use it. Okay, so that's just a note for you. Okay, so that's the end of how to structure a persuasive argument. I hope that that made sense to you, and you could see that each part has a different part to play, a different purpose to build your overall argument and be persuasive overall. The next video, which was done by Ms. Gotham, very kindly, actually talks you through the particular features of a speech. Now, I think I've mentioned it before, but I will mention it again. A speech is one of the 3 types of text you may be asked to write in your exam. The other 2 are articles and letters, and we will cover those later on in this scheme of learning in terms of what the particular features of those types of texts are. But the next video focuses in just on the particular features of a speech. How can you indicate when you're writing that you are writing a speech? What are the typical things you would find that indicate that? So Miss Gotham's made a good video. It's quite short. It's just a good video that talks you through what makes your waggle a particularly good example of a speech. And just as a reminder before I leave you, if you want to do more after watching that video on the features of a speech, here's what you can do. You can use your knowledge organizer to make revision cards for the key vocabulary, mature viewpoint phrases and theirs techniques. Just like I've done, I would do one for each technique, one for each mature viewpoint phrase, one for each word with the definition on the back. And now, of course, you also know about ethos, logos, pathos, conclusion. And after Ms. Bottom's video, you'll know about the common features of a speech. So you could make revision cards on those too, one for each section of the persuasive argument, and then one on the common features of a speech. So there's lots of revision resources that you could be making if you're looking for more to do. I hope you find the video on features of a speech useful and that you found this one too. Good luck, and we will see you very soon on some live lessons. But in the meantime, take care.